Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in and checking out my latest video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the upcoming matchup between Murat Gassiev versus Yunier Dorticos taking place in the cruiserweight division. This fight is going to be outstanding. We got two different fighters, a little different styles both of these guys present in this matchup. However, one thing unites both of them, they both have vicious punching power. So with no further ado, I'm going to get into this video, talk about both of these fighters, what they have to do to win, and ultimately give my prediction on who I think wins this great fight. So let's get right into it, guys. So Yunier Dorticos, when you look at him as a fighter, he has an excellent jab. He likes to work off that jab, throw that straight right hand, throw that overhand right. Also, he has a good activity level. When you look at him, he gives you a bit of movement. He throws a lot of punches. Throws also compact punches. He's got good stamina. So he brings really a lot to the table. Extensive amateur background and also knockout power. So pretty much does everything very well. He comes from the Cuban school of boxing. However, he's different from a lot of Cuban fighters because he fights so aggressively and isn't so defensive oriented. Now, when I look at Murat Gassiev and what he brings to the table in this fight, Murat Gassiev, very impressed with him in his last performance. And when I look at him, he continues improving as a fighter. He's only in his early 20s, extremely composed in the ring. That's something that's always been very impressive for me. He never panics. He's very good at setting up punches, very accurate puncher. Best puncher, in my opinion, in the cruiserweight division. Physically very strong fighter. His left hook to the head and body are vicious, along with his straight right hand. Also utilizes very good uppercuts. So he's a guy, ultimately, he walks forward, he gives fans very exciting fights, trains with highly respected Abel Sanchez up in Big Bear Lake in California. They have a great team up there. It's a lot of fighters, so obviously he's learning from great fighters like Gennady Golovkin. For example, training with him on a consistent basis. You got guys like veterans like Darnell Boone, who has been in there before in the past, training, veteran of the game, seeing everything. So these guys are great mentors to fighters like Murat Gassiev. Now, when I look at this matchup and I talk about some advantages both of these fighters have over one another, let me first start off with Yunier Dorticos and some advantages I believe he has in this fight. Dorticos, in my opinion, has the better hand speed of the two. I also believe he has better stamina potentially from what I've seen of both of these fighters. He can fight at a higher pace with the activity level he likes to throw. I'll give him the stamina edge as well. Also, I believe that he has a little bit more activity. He throws a lot more punches, in my opinion. And ultimately, he's a little more experienced as a professional. But nonetheless, Murat Gassiev, some of the advantages that he has in this fight, in my opinion, is Murat Gassiev, the better puncher of the two, physically stronger, also younger and fresher, because we got to remember when we look at Yunier Dorticos, when he fought Kalinga, tough fighter, very physically strong. He took a lot of shots in that fight, and I don't care what anybody tells me, that kind of type of fight affects you down the road. So that's something just to be mindful for and look out for in this fight. Now, ultimately, some weapons I think both of these guys need to avoid from one another. If you're Yunier Dorticos, I think you've got to consistently work that jab. Murat Gassiev comes forward. He doesn't have a ton of head movement, so he's got to consistently throw that jab, use some movement to get out of range. And Murat Gassiev is going to have to try to avoid that jab and those right hands consistently because this is a very good puncher. And he's going to have to find a way to get away from those jabs and consistently work on his offense. When you look at Yunier Dorticos, there's something very alarming that I see when I look at his style is at times he gets very heavy on that right hand and becomes predictable. And against a guy like Murat Gassiev, he's got to protect his body. And I've seen Dorticos get hit in the body before. And I don't think he has the greatest defense to the body. He kind of brings that elbow up high. So Murat Gassiev, I think, is going to try to utilize that left hook to the head or body, countering off a right hand. Or potentially just even when they're in range, throwing that left hook is something that Yunier Dorticos is going to have to game plan against. Murat Gassiev, as we know, vicious left hook to the body, one of the best in the business when it comes to that punch. And I think that's something he's got to watch out for. Now, looking at this fight and ultimately who I think will win this matchup, it's very tough. As I said, both of these guys, they have both great weapons. They're both great fighters. They're both power punchers, what makes this fight so unpredictable. So I look at it like this. Two different outcomes, I think, in this fight. If you look at Yunier Dorticos, if he can move, land his jab, and have a high activity level, he can be very successful in this fight. However, ultimately, I don't think he's going to make the final bell in this matchup. I believe that Murat Gassiev stops him, and the reasons why I'm going with Murat Gassiev for a stoppage in this fight is ultimately I've seen Dorticos get bullied by that Kalinga style. Don't get me wrong, he had very good moments against him. That fight was a war, but he took a lot of shots from Kalinga, who is very sloppy, physically strong, but very sloppy and doesn't set up punches nearly as good as Murat Gassiev. So I think that pressure style eventually is going to break down Yunier Dorticos. I think also that the left hook is going to land effectively on a counter from Murat Gassiev to the body or the head, and I think that's going to be something that is going to potentially. I do see Dorticos getting dropped at some point in this fight before he is stopped. I think that him being open for that left hook to the head and to the body at times is going to be a critical error on his end because Murat Gassiev has that one punch knockout power, and his left hook to the head and body are vicious. So those are a couple reasons why. Also, I believe Murat Gassiev being in Russia, a hometown advantage in this fight is another reason for me. So personally, I just believe that eventually Murat Gassiev will break down Yunier Dorticos in this fight and stop him. I'm going to say around 7 or 8. Ultimately, those are my reasons for picking Murat Gassiev in this fight. Very close encounter. Just some things I noticed about both fighters. Going to be an extremely interesting fight. I cannot wait for this matchup. Let me know what you guys think, because ultimately, I think a lot of people are going to disagree with me in this video. I've seen a lot of people picking Yunier Dorticos. Very, very skilled fighter. However, I am riding with Murat Gassiev to win this fight. I definitely think he is underrated. I think a lot of people are written him off after the Lebedev performance. I think he learned a lot from that. And ultimately, I just think this guy is too powerful, too strong, and is underrated IQ as well. I believe he sets up punches better than people give him credit for and can counter punch as well. And he's experienced and he's learning from one of the best teams in the world up in Big Bear Lake in California. All right, let me know what you guys think on this fight. Thank you very much, guys.